Hey boys and girls, welcome to Cool Candy 1965. On today's episode, we're going to do something for the kitchen. It's real easy. I think you're going to like it. But first, like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment below, and ring that bell. So before we get started, you know what I got to do. I got the magic wand here. Clean up. Cool. All right, now let's get started. First, we're going to need 2 pieces of wood, 5 by 15 by 3/4 right here. Beautiful. And then we're going to need 1 piece 5 inches by 30.5 by 3/4 right here. Beautiful. And then we're going to need 2 pieces 3/4 by 1/2 inch by 30.5 right here. Beautiful. All right, let's get started. So first we're going to take our 15-inch pieces and we're going to measure up 12 inches for each one. And then we're going to take our speed square. We're going to mark a line. Just mark it lightly so it doesn't show up so much when the project's done. So, and then we're going to line up our 30.5 inch long piece with that line. The bottom of this will be on the line. So you have 12 inches from the bottom to the table. All right, so let's get started. All right. I'm going to use 1.25" brad nails. Make sure it's square with our speed square. Right there. Let's do our other side. Second verse, same as the first. Over your magic wand. Stay. Perfect. All right, should have something like that. This is a quick project, folks. Okay, next we got our rails. Now I'm going to sand these a bit before I put them on because they're a little bit rough and I want them to be smooth. So I get my sanding block here and just give it a good sand. That's pretty good. This is cedar, so it's a bit soft, so it sands pretty easily. Smells delicious. Just taking any saw marks off of it. Then what I like to do too is kind of go along the corner a little bit so it's not such a sharp corner. And it doesn't take much. Again, this is soft wood, it's cedar, so it's not going to take much sanding at all. It's nice. It's so good. The cedar smells so good. Goody. Nice. All right, so these are going to go here. And meow. All right, let me mark these. Stay. All right, here we go. Be right back. All right, let's see how they fit. Perfect and perfect. All right, so let's give that a little glue. Now you gotta be very careful with this because you can't have any bangers on this one. It'll mess it up. Cool. Oh man, I'm sweating it. A little bit of water. Clean up the excess glue. All right. And then what I'm going to do, take our little headless pin nailer, and I'm going to take some 5/8 inch pin nails, put them in here, shut that here, and then I'm going to take a little bit of oil, just a couple drops. If you don't have any oil on your fingers when you're touching this, you don't want to get it all oily. I'm going to take our little pinner and I'm going to put some pins toenailed into here, for extra strength, because I don't think that one nail is going to do it. These nails are so small they won't split the wood. That's what I like about them. You see, you can nail real tiny stuff on without splitting it. All right, so let's start over here. Maybe put a few in here too. And a few here. And some from the bottom. Put more on the bottom because that's at the bottom. You're not going to see it, so it's less visible. All right, square is the top of my head. Nice. All right, now I get some on this side. Make sure it's still shooting. Yep. Haven't used any magic in a while, so this back rail I'm gonna do with magic now. Okay. Okay, so magic rail. Cool. Quick work. Alrighty, so there you have it. What is it? You put it on the back of your stove up against the wall, so your control panel's here, and you put your spices on it right in front of your stove. So your stove's here, the stove goes here, the back of the stove's here, or you can put it over a cooktop also. Spices go here, out of the way, and they're right there when you need them. Alright, so stick around for the next build. It's going to be pretty cool too. It's a fairly simple one also, and it's going to be for the kitchen also, so stick around. Alright, boys and girls, before we get started on our second project, you know what we got to do. Time to clean up. Perfect. Now let's get started. Alright, so for today's project, I took some material and I ran it through my planer to get it flat, because we're going to paint this one. It's not going to be rustic. So I took the liberty of gluing all the pieces together last night, and I came up with this. Alright, so I'm going to make it 20 inches this way and 30 and a half this way. What I'm going to do, there's no real way to make this straight, or you got something you can rig your table saw with. So what I'm going to do is take it, I'm going to rip a piece of this. This will slide on the groove in my table saw, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to nail that to here temporarily from the other side. I'm going to measure from here to the blade to where I can get the most out of this. I'm going to flip it over and run it through the table saw with this running through that slot in the table saw, and then the table saw blade will cut through this and give me a nice straight line. That'll give me the flexibility to flip it over, use the guide on the table saw on the straight edge that I make to cut the other side. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so this piece is 3/4, so I'm going to rip it down to 3/8, and it'll slide in this slot here. And again, I'll nail that piece to here temporarily, measure from the blade to here, and see that what I can get the max out of that. It'll be somewhere about there. Let's get started. I calibrated my guide to the blade so I can use this little guide here, right to 3/8 of an inch. I know it's kind of old school, but it works for me. I like to keep my hands way away from the blade. Some of those things where people push them like this, all it would take is just to slip, and then your knuckles go right into that blade, and then you're like this. You can hitchhike, but you know, flipping people off is going to be tough. Perfection. All right, now what we need to do is measure from the blade to this slot, and we are at 5 7/16. I think this is the shortest one here, so I'll measure over 5 7/16 from that one. 5 7/16. Might give it a little bit more just to be safe. All right, then I'm going to take my speed square and square it up. All right, let me get my pin nailer. All right, I put a couple pin nails in the end. Now I'm gonna use my straight edge to make sure it's straight all the way across, and put a few pin nails in here. All right, now I think that's a song. Bad Company. Take everything off of your table saw. Keep it safe, children. All right, now let's see how this is going to ride in this groove of the saw, and then the blade's going to cut these off. Hypothetically, all right, so let's give it a shot. I'm going to open this door to let the sawdust shoot out. All right, so as you can see, that gave me a nice straight edge. Check that out. Now I can put that edge against the fence on the table and then cut the other one straight. So now these little chunks on the table of the table saw, don't go reaching for them while the blade's moving. And try not to stand right in line with the blade, because that blade can catch those things and throw them right into your face. Should be wearing a face mask, by golly, and ear protection. So I will put these on, I promise you. All right, so this table saw has an extension where you can move it out if you need longer cuts. So let's clean it up a little bit. Let's determine how much space we actually need. Okay, so we need to pull this in a little bit. So there's a couple screws underneath here that you unscrew, actually knobs. Yeah, let's see if that gives us enough purchase. A little bit more. That should be it right there. All right, so I'm going to tighten these little knobs, lock it into place. Okay, now we're going to see where we can get the maximum out of this. Okay, looks like we're going to get about 19 7/8. Always measure at both ends, because sometimes that fence could be off a little bit. All right, here we go. Well, I promised you I was going to put on eye protection and ear protection. I was using the planer the other day to plane these down, and I didn't have the dust catchment system on it like a dummy. And I got a piece of sawdust in mine, and it hurt like you know what. Or if you don't know what, ask your parents. All right, rehydrate. Hydrate. It's good practice to always clean the dust off of this. The better you can see, the more fingers you keep. Whoever made these, why the little knobs, man? They always pop loose. They always spin like this, and then this comes loose. You always have to spin it back on there. Come on, man, you can do better than that. You're wondering why I'm holding my hat, because the microphones are on there. Anyway, let's take this strip loose. Put our protection on. Remember, you're not a pro if you don't wear protection. All right, now we're going to trim it to width. So you want the boards to appear to be the same size on both sides. So I'm going to rip some off one side and then rip the rest off the other side. So We need it to be 30 and a half. So what I do, mark your line 30 and a half, and see what you got left, 2 1/8. We know we want to take 1 1/16 off of each end. So I'll set the saw for 1 1/16 to the outer side of the blade, not this side, but that side. Beauty. All right, put our protection on. So you saw how this sliver was traveling when that blade was moving. You're here, it could throw it up against you, and I had a piece of plywood that actually jabbed me in the stomach when I was trying to cut it one time. Or if you reach your hand in there, bad things can happen, so just wait till the blade stops. Be patient. All right, let's cut the other side. Check our accuracy. Spot on. Cool. All right, so let's set this out of the way temporarily. So for the back, I'm going to need a piece 4 inches tall by 3/4 by 30 and a half. Same width as this. Right here. Ruby. All right, set that over here. The next piece I need is for the front. Now I'm going to miter that one together. I'm going to make it flush with the bottom, but sticking up of a couple inches. I need that one to be 2 1/2 by 3/4 by 30 and a half long, short point to short point on the angles. I need that right here. Cool. Let's put that over here. All right. Then I'm going to need 2 pieces for the side. This one's going to go past the back one, hide that joint on both sides. The front one's going to be mitered down to this point, then it's going to be squared here, and I'll show you that when I get it. Go ahead and use the magic wand, and I need that right here. Cool. Dang it, man. What the heck? Sometimes if you use magic too much, it backfires on you. I mitered the front edges down to 2 1/2 so that the front piece will sit in here like this. And then this will be the bottom of the board, basically, of this board. And I did the same on the opposite side here. So that'll sit in there just like that. It's a beaut, Clark. All right, let's get to assembly. Actually, I'm gonna sand this down with my sander first. I'm gonna use a belt sander because it's quicker. Orbital sander's nice, but I don't know where I put mine because I've got so much crap. Yeah, it's a long story. All right. Move this over there. Now, cool, let's get started. All right, now I'm going to start sanding. I'm going to change out my belt first. Brand new, this is 120 grit, so they are directional. So make sure you put it on the right direction, or terrible things will happen. All right. Oop. Hey folks, we're taking a break from the action real quick. I want to take a quick minute to talk to you about back problems. At least 80% of people out there have back problems at some time in their life, including me. I've got a compressed disc from a long time ago. We put in a lot of hours in these shops, you know. In the construction business, you're working really hard, or you may just have an injury of some type. Maybe a football injury from high school or college. Either way, my injury prompted me to come up with a non-surgical way to help alleviate my daily pain. And it really works. So in this next clip, I want to show you my patented head-up spinal decompression device. It's easy to use. Watch the video, go to our website, headupspine.com, and order yours today. Okay, so this is what I was referring to. This is my patented head-up spinal decompression device. The reason we call it that is because you're not having to hang upside down. Your head is in the upright position, and you get spinal decompression the same way you would as if you were hanging upside down on an inversion table. All right, so basically all you do is you adjust the legs for your height, and you can use this in the standing position or the seated position. I like to do it in the seated position because it stretches my spine more. And then you adjust the arms here for your torso. And you basically just lower yourself onto the device. And then you relax your lower body. And you can feel it stretching your spine, and man, it feels so good after a day of working, bending over and all that work you're doing, and your back gets sore, or you're bending over a lot, you're carrying stuff. It's just a lot of strain on your back, but this thing really stretches it out, man. I can feel it right now. It feels great. So just go to our website, and I'll leave a link down below. Thank you, and God bless. Alright, I got the sanding done with a belt sander. I put these clamps here to hold it because that belt sander tends to push the material, so these held it from sliding, and I flipped it around to the other side. So I did have a bit of a divot here, so I'm going to show you a little trick, old carpenter's trick. Take some fine sawdust, mix it with some glue. Always mix more than you need because you don't want to have to do this 10 times. Mix that together. Alright. So you want it the consistency of like a paste, and you're going to just push it down in there, scrape it off, push more in there, scrape it off, a little bit more there. It's better to have too much than too little, and you can scrape around it, all that excess, so you're not sanding too much extra. And another little trick, get a little moisture on your blade, trying to smooth over it, cut back what we don't need. Alright, so that should dry pretty quick. I'm going to put everything else together, and I'm going to sand that later because it's in the middle where I can get my sanding block in there pretty easily. Alright, so on the two end pieces, I'm going to drill a hole here and here, and then I'm going to connect it with the jigsaw to make a handle on both sides. So let's get started. Now the reason I'm going to both sides is because if I were just to go through this, that bit would, first of all, the bit would hit here and dull the bit. I could put a sacrificial piece of wood underneath it and go through it, which would probably be the smart thing to do. But by going halfway through, the guide bit in the middle will come through this side, so I can see where to flip it and put it on this side, and then drill the other half through so that you don't blow out the wood on one side or the other. So I'll take my jigsaw and I'll join those and make a handle hold. Number two, let me get that chunk of wood out of there. Someday I'll invest in some Forstner bits. Not today. All right, here we go. I wonder if the BAPs would work. Big ass pliers. Oh yeah. Would you look at that? Thank you again, big ass pliers. You are a handy dandy tool. Alright, so you know what time it is again. Look at this. Magic wand. Clean up. Cool. Now that we got that out of the way, go over there. Take these two boogers. We'll take our speed square, pencil, and we're going to connect those circles there on both sides, like that, and that, and then we'll cut that with the jigsaw, and that'll be our handhold on both sides. Alright, so let's get our jigsaw out. I'm going to open this door because it's getting humid in here. Alright, I'm going to clamp it down to our table, Mabel. Put a piece of scrap between the clamp and the piece of wood so it doesn't dent the wood. Because I'm going to torque the hell out of this mother. Alright, jigsaw. Alright, and there you have it. Perfect handhold. Like it was made for my hand. Alright, now I'll clamp this one down and then I'll use the magic on this one. Pay attention. Magic jigsaw, do your thing. Cool, saved us a little bit of time. Alright. Assembly time. And this will go meow, 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 meow. Alright, so I'm going to put the front on first. Alright. Now, John fell down. So we're going to take some 1-inch pin nails, headless pins, and then we're going to take our bottom piece, line up our inside corners with the ends. Thank you, air compressor. I appreciate it. Alright, so this will go on here like this, like meow. We'll measure this. 2 1/16. Mark down here, 2 1/16. We'll glue this side. My least favorite part of the project. On that joint. Archie Bunker would say that joint instead of the joint. So we can nail that side on. Line up our joint. It's going to be a little tricky, folks. So I'll put one in this joint here first to hold that in place. Then I'll go to the back here. I'll put one in here. Beauty. Back to the joint. Careful that you don't pull it apart. So then we need to find the center of this piece here so we know where to nail. That is going to be 2 1/4. All right, so let's go to it. Yep. All right, now the other side. This bad boy on here. Line up our line there. Let's get our joint started. right, that lined up. A couple started there. So you can see how the front joint came together. I mitered it here and I squared it off there, so you get that look. So this will be where the front of the oven is, so I'll sit on the oven like this. Now we'll put the back on. Now I'm going to do this one through magic because I haven't done magic in a few minutes. So magic wand, nail on board. Cool, saved us some time. Alrighty, so there you have it. They call it a noodle board. Not sure why. It goes over your stove like that. I made this one because we got the burners that are the coils and they're never even, so this will sit above the coils and this part will sit on the countertop on either side. Then you got your handles. I'll do a bit of hand sanding, maybe stain it and seal it. We'll see. I decided to make a last minute change and make this the front, and I scalloped it and cut it across, left about a 1/2 inch here because Amy doesn't want the peas to roll off onto the floor. Anyway, I think it looks pretty good. And then this will fit over the back of the oven because the oven sticks up a little bit above the countertop. This will sit flat on the countertop on each side, cover the oven, and then she can work in here. And this part clears the oven in the back. So that'll do her. Just a little bit more sanding around the handles and she's done. I'll let Amy paint it any way she wants. Join us for our next build coming soon. I'll make it something interesting. I'll do maybe 2 builds on that one also. So if you haven't liked, subscribed, shared, rang the bell, and commented below, please do so. It really helps our channel. We appreciate it. Thank you, and come back for the next build. Can he do it? Stick around and find out.